Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, September 4th, 2020. The lobbyists love Mr. Biden's tax proposals. In the Encyclopedia Britannica, theft is defined as the physical removal of an object that is capable of being stolen without the consent of the owner and with the intention of depriving the owner of it permanently. There's a statement attributed to Willie Sutton, the bank robber, when he was asked why he chose to rob banks. Sutton's answer supposedly was, because that's where the money is. Sutton was born in 1901 and died in 1980. He spent more than 40 years in prison for stealing an estimated $2 million. Now, although he carried a pistol or a submachine gun during his escapades, he never killed anyone. When asked why he carried a weapon if he didn't intend to use it, he said, "You can't rob banks on charm and personality." Now, if Mr. Sutton were alive today, he would greatly admire the system that the ruling class and their minions in the D.C. swamp have set up for themselves. Using the incredibly complicated and corrupt income payroll tax system, they routinely take our money from us and use it to enrich themselves and the people who buy favors from them. And they get away with it because nobody is really paying attention to what's going on. Now, does not selling a benefit to someone and then forcibly taking money from the rest of us to pay for it fit the definition of theft? Well, it most certainly does. However, this theft is legal, which raises the question, why is this theft legal? And the answer is, because the ruling class and their swamp minions are the ones who wrote the laws that let them do it. Now, even though there are likely some instances where cash is passed under the table, most of the swamp knows that they don't have to do it that way. As noted already, they have made sure that their theft is not a criminal act. Now, just who profits from the income payroll tax system? In Roman times, when people were trying to understand why a law was passed that created harm but stubbornly remained on the books, there was the term Quibo. This translates to the phrase, "To whom is it a benefit?" Now, once the beneficiaries of a bad law are made known, then it's much easier to get that law changed or repealed. With the present income payroll tax law, the beneficiaries are the ruling class and their swamp minions. Here, we have a law that not only allows them to sell benefits to the highest bidder and pass their obligations on to the rest of us, the same law gives them something that's much more important to them: a way to control and intimidate anyone who might actually object to their theft. Now, they don't need pistols or submachine guns, and there's no need to physically harm anyone. One of the most powerful weapons they have is simply the threat of revoking whatever favors and benefits they have granted. If a special interest group that has bought a tax benefit does not properly bow and scrape to their masters, not only can the tax benefit be taken away, the recalcitrant group's taxes can actually be increased. Christmas came early this year for the lobbyists. When presidential nominee Joe Biden promised that if he wins the presidency, he will raise taxes on Americans who earn more than $400,000 a year, there were shrieks of happiness from the ruling class and their swamp minions. Biden is going after the very group of people who can most afford to purchase special tax benefits. With the government threatening to take more of their money, the swamp is already envisioning a long line of wealthy taxpayers lining up to buy whatever protection they can from the promised tax increases. These taxpayers know that if Biden wins, and especially if his party wins control of the Senate and retains control of the House, there is absolutely nothing that anyone can do to stop the imposition of these higher taxes. In that case, they're going to need all the help they can buy, and the swamp will be all too eager to sell it to them. In that case, rivers of money will be flowing into the ruling class in the swamp, and they can hardly wait. On the other hand, President Trump says that he wants to reduce income taxes. Now, if the president wins re-election in November, does that mean the gravy train for the ruling class gets derailed? Well, actually, no. In that case, there will still be a long list of lobbyists looking to buy favorable tax treatment for their clients. The ruling class in the swamp have built a foolproof system for themselves. Whichever way the election turns out, they win and the rest of us lose. The income payroll tax system has become a feeding trough for the hogs in D.C., and it must be dismantled. And there's only one way to do that: pass the fair tax. In conclusion, unlike Willie Sutton, who never made a secret of what he considered his job in life, stealing from others, most of the swamp minions who do the work for the ruling class desperately try to hide what they do. They paint themselves as honest, hard-working problem solvers who are selflessly going about doing what's best for the country, when they're actually hard at work behind the scenes doing what's best for themselves. Now, we all naively think that the golden rule should be inscribed in all the offices in Washington, D.C. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, that might be nice, but the truth is that our superiors in D.C., who believe that we should feel blessed to have them taking such good care of us, well, they believe that the golden rule doesn't apply to them. If these swamp minions were honest, they would actually have this quote from the Marquis de Sade proudly posted on their office walls. "All is theft. All is unceasing and rigorous competition in nature. The desire to make off with the substance of others is the foremost, the most legitimate passion that nature has bred into us, and without doubt the most agreeable one." However, the ruling class and the swamp minions only have the power that we the people allow them to have. The government belongs to us, not them. Now, we should never forget the words of Winston Churchill delivered in 1941 when Britain was in the middle of a war that many of his countrymen believed could not be won. Churchill said, quote, "Never give in. Never give in. Never, 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 never. In nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in, except to the convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy." End of quote. Now, if you're tired of a system that lets a small group of corrupt people enrich themselves and their friends at your expense, join us in the effort to deprive them of one of their most powerful and lucrative tools, the income payroll tax system. Go to fairtax.org, watch the whiteboards under how it works, and if you agree, please join us. And then contact your member of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the fair tax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.